Hey guys, I am finally here with everything I want to talk about as far as 2010 recognitions are concerned. 2010 matches, 2010 awards, 2010 everything you will find in this video. I'm going to start off by giving just a few awards, not that many, but there will be a few. And then I will talk about certain matches that made my top 35 list. The full list can be found down there in the description box. I will not talk about all those matches, but I will be talking about a certain few. So without any distractions, let's get started with the awards for 2010, beginning with Promotion of the Year. I gave this to New Japan Pro Wrestling, Shin Nihon Pro Res. But on the whole, I think whatever good stuff we got in 2010, we didn't get because of one particular promotion being especially good. So in the grand scheme of things, this award doesn't really mean a great deal. But I did give this to New Japan basically because I think not only do they put on an entertaining show from beginning to end, I think when you watch a New Japan show, you'll get a better sense of the future. You'll get a better sense of optimism for the future. Make no mistake about it, I love watching Takashi Sugiura tear it up in every title defense, without a doubt. I love that. But if it is true that Sugiura is not a draw for Noah, then having him as champion just creates a sense that Noah is at a standstill right now. Sugiura is a comfortable champion, but not so much a progressive champion. And you look at the other divisions in Noah, and I don't think they have the depth that New Japan's divisions do. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with the depth of foreign talent that New Japan use in comparison to Noah, in terms of bringing in Gaijin full-time, as opposed to Noah, who might use a pair of Ring of Honor guys for one tour and then send them on their way. So that, as well, I think, benefits New Japan on the whole. And then you might ask yourself the question, who would suffer more if the New Japan Noah co-promotion stopped tomorrow? And I think your answer there would be Noah. I know the two promotions aren't equals to begin with, but New Japan being the bigger promotion doesn't completely stop Noah from having more depth in their talent roster than they currently do. So that, I think, is justifying New Japan as the promotion of the year. This award might be better served as just a kind of a personal taste sort of thing, but you know, Noah have better matches. But in the same way, I think New Japan are equally strong at putting on good shows. So I think there's more enough in that to have New Japan as promotion of the year. Moving on to Junior of the Year, I have no problem whatsoever giving recognition to Naomichi Marufuji on this note, even though there are people on YouTube who like him enough to give him overall 2010 Wrestler of the Year. I like him enough to give him this, just on the strength of those matches with Devitt, which I think live up to all the hype that they're given, which is something I can't really say for the Kanemoto match or the Liger match. And then, of course, there's the Kenta match, which I have to give that match its due. Even if it won't make my list, it's an extremely fun match, no question about it. And through it all, Marufuji's charisma flows in a way that I think is lost on a lot of other juniors. So there you have it, Marufuji is the Junior of the Year for 2010. Moving on to Gaijin Wrestler of the Year, I have this award solely to give recognition to fellow Irishman Prince Devitt from New Japan Pro Wrestling. Another junior who exudes charisma with every match. From a success standpoint, I think you can put him above Marufuji, certainly. I think the title reign that started last June and is still going very strongly is enough to comfortably make that claim. Not to mention the junior heavyweight tag title run with Taguchi, which was not especially memorable, but they did drop those titles in one of the best overall matches of the year. Not just among juniors, one of the best overall matches. So, no doubt about it, Prince Devitt, to me, is the best foreign talent that Japan had in 2010. And this award is also here to give some recognition to one runner-up in this category, and that would be Pac from the Dragon Gate promotion, whose success in Dragon Gate I think deserves a bit of attention because, you know, he is the Open the Brave Gate champion. I believe he is only the second foreign wrestler to hold that championship, the first being Matt Sydal, if I'm correct. And I think there's something very uplifting about seeing a Gaijin reach such levels of success in a promotion like Dragon Gate, which, even if you don't like the promotion, you have to acknowledge that the degree of physical prowess that it takes to make something of yourself there. A degree of physical prowess that you almost can't imagine being developed anywhere else but through an intensive Dragon Gate training regime. It almost feels like it's an exclusive style of an elite branch of Japanese prodigies almost. So for someone like Pac to find such success there is, I think, enriching to an extent. So a runner-up for Pac for 2010 Foreign Wrestler of the Year. We move on to Tag Team of the Year. This is quite easily given to Bad Intentions, the current IWGP Tag Team Champions, Giant Bernard and Carl Anderson. I don't think there's been a lot of necessarily great work done by tag teams in Japan this year, at least outside of the New Japan versus Noah matches, but Bad Intentions are consistently very good at putting on at least very good matches. New Japan helps by being consistently good at packaging their pairings so they feel like a tag team, better than Noah at doing that. The only other company that I think you can make a case for in that department, at least among the companies that I follow with a large degree of seriousness, would be Dragon Gate. And no Dragon Gate team I think can match the consistency of Bad Intentions in 2010. So they are the Tag Team of the Year. And finally we have Wrestler of the Year. I don't think too many will be surprised when I say this goes without question to Takashi Sugiura of Pro Wrestling Noah. To me there isn't a single one of his title defenses that has not been great, and I am making an exception for the one that did not happen on Japanese soil. It happened in AAA. I did not watch it. If it happened to be mediocre, it wouldn't make a bit of difference to this decision. If you need any further clarification on this, I urge you to go back and watch some of my reviews of his matches. That should tell you all you need to know about it. And I have one runner-up in this category. That would be Daisuke Sekimoto from 0-1, Big Japan and DDT. And once you take a look at this top 35 matches list, you'll see why. You will see why he is the runner-up in this category. Okay, so that was just my quick little awards ceremony for 2010. And let's move on to the matches. I'm not going to bore you all to tears and talk about every match on this list. I have highlighted about 8 or 9 that I want to mention specifically. And otherwise, I'm letting the list speak for itself. You might ask how I arrived at the figure of 35 recommended matches. And my answer to that would be, the more stuff I watched, the more very good to great matches I watched. The question for me was the match good enough for me to extend the list? For me to feel the need to do that? There were some matches that did, there were some matches that didn't. But this started off as a top 25 and is now a top 35. So there were definitely some matches that were extended, that the list was extended for that purpose. So that kind of tells you that every match on this list is something that I think you should go out of your way to see. And what's interesting is, what drove a lot of the extensions on the list, and this is going to freak some of you out, was the WWE. That's true. And, you know, I can understand that since it doesn't look like a lot of the guys in that company go out and give a lot of effort, it can create a negative image. And I'll never be on the same page as them again until they rediscover their creative instincts. So, but they do have a lot of hidden gems this year, I think. And I owe a credit to Daniel's Facebook discussion page for helping me see that myself. Not that I wasn't already partial to a bit of HBK vs Undertaker or Daniel Bryan vs The Miz. That's good stuff. Daniel approaches the WWE with a bit of a different perspective, and you can find his the link to his Facebook page, discussion page, in the description box. I'll be mentioning it again as we wade through the list, as far as the matches I want to highlight. Starting with a match that made the list in the past 24 hours from one of the December shows that makes you want to wait as long as possible to make a list like this, and that would be Dragon Gate, the Final Gate 2010. The match in question is for the Open the Triangle Gate Championship. Takuya Sugiura, Naoki Tanizaki and Yasushi Kanda versus Shima, Dragon Kid and Ricochet. And as I alluded to earlier, there is no more satisfying feeling than seeing an outsider get over in a big way in a promotion like Dragon Gate. This is an absolute must-see if you're a fan of Ricochet, and even if you're like me and think he's just okay, this match will make you more of a fan, trust me. This, I believe, is Ricochet's introduction to at least the pay-per-view audience of Dragon Gate, perhaps even the entire audience as a whole, and it's done perfectly. Every single one of his big spots is geared to that purpose of getting him over, and that is more than adequate to drive you through the greater portion of the match. And then you get to the finishing stretch, which is just so much fun to watch, culminating in a feel-good moment, a feel-good finish, I should say. with a feel-good aftermath to supplement it. This makes my top 35 list just about replacing a Big Japan tag match, that probably had better creative stuff in it, but the achievement that this match has, the Big Japan match doesn't. So that should tell you something about how well this gets Ricochet over in front of the Dragon Gate crowd. Check this match out. You'll like it, trust me. Definitely one of the best Dragon Gate matches this year, I think. And now the WWE recognition begins with the placing of Daniel Bryan versus Dolph Ziggler and Daniel Bryan versus The Miz. Both of these are the pay-per-view matches these guys had together at numbers 33 and 31 respectively. I think I definitely liked these matches even more than some people on the YouTube community, and for different reasons as well. You know, Bryan versus Ziggler, to me, it's so refreshing because it feels like the kind of high intensity indie style match that you would never expect the WWE to do, at least now. I mean, they want to conserve their wrestlers' health. That's an endearing cause, but so when you think about a great WWE match, you're thinking of the best stories that they could possibly tell. You're not thinking about a match like this. This was nothing like that. This had tons of effort, this had tons of energy, and that is reflected in the "This is awesome" chant that it gets, which is so uncommon on a WWE show. So I have no problem saying this is a great match. And the WWE promoted as such. They promoted as such, which is another uncommon thing. I believe they tied it with HBK versus Undertaker on a WWE.com poll for best match of 2010, which I might not agree with that necessarily, but it is definitely enriching to see the WWE promote the match like that. So definitely, I think this match deserves the recognition that I have just given it. And then you have Daniel Bryan versus The Miz, which is much more like the type of match that the WWE would do that you would consider great. This is something that I wish they would do more often. You know, there's a feud. There are believable personalities in the feud. It has depth. It has durability, and the match is faithful to the feud. You know, with matches like this, why aren't I watching the WWE more often? Well, you know, consistency is the key, which is something that is lost in the current WWE. So, but I'm not finished talking about them yet by a long shot, because now we come to John Morrison versus Sheamus in the ladder match from Tables, Ladders and Chairs. This is another gem, no doubt about it, and I'm going to freak some of you out by saying that I got the same feeling watching this match as I did when I was 8 years old watching the Chris Benoit versus Chris Jericho ladder match from Royal Rumble 2001. Now granted, I don't think that's a 5-star classic like some people do, but that's how I felt watching this match here. I mean, I've hardly ever seen a ladder used to such great effect to make working over a body part a little fresher, a little more original, after being a tried and tested formula for so long. I mean, everything Morrison does is geared towards getting you to pull for him. He's just in his element here, I think, and the finish is just fantastic, I think. You know, this match, just fantastic, I think. You know, number 28 on my list, fantastic stuff, and not even the best ladder match WWE have had this year. And that goes to my last mention of WWE on this list, and it goes towards the SmackDown Money in the Bank ladder match from July of 2010. I have a great affection for the very first Money in the Bank because it features some of Benoit's best babyface expressions, I think, and it also because Edge gets a much deserved victory in that match. So that's probably still the best Money in the Bank, I think, but this is definitely not far behind. You know, with a match that has 8 guys in it, I think at least 7 have a meaningful role in this match, with the exception would be Cody Rhodes, but otherwise I think Big Show fulfills his natural role, but he does so with a volume turned way up in terms of just how good it is, and Kane is not far behind him in terms of being the destroyer in this match. There's a feeling of alliance between Christian and Matt Hardy that makes sense and is maintained well throughout. I have to admit I don't remember offhand exactly how Kofi and Ziggler were used, other than, you know, Kofi's obvious acrobatics, but I definitely remember McIntyre being that annoying little guy who sneaks up near the end and looks like he's going to win and keeps you on the edge of your seat for the finishing stretch. You know, how much better use are you going to find with that infuriating Scotsman? Come on, answer that question. I give a lot of credit to the match because it was able to find something meaningful for most guys to do. It's a challenging task, no doubt about it, and WWE succeeded with flying colours in this match. You know, Raw's one it tried to do the same, and it was still a good match, but it just didn't reach the level of this one. It was better than the Mania match by a good stretch, but the SmackDown one just had so much depth to it, I think, and that's why it gets placed at number 19 on this list. That would be me done with the WWE talk as far as this list is concerned. I don't really think I need to justify HBK versus Taker's placement on the list, so we will move on to PWG. And there are 2 placements on this list. The first one being Chris Hero versus Akira Tozawa from Bola Night 2, which comes in at number 30. There's definitely better examples of small guy versus big guy narratives, but there are not many better examples of a hot crowd. I'll say that much. The atmosphere in this one is just tremendous, to put it lightly. I mean, you watch this and you get the sense that Tozawa could just propel himself to the top of the US Indies with just on the strength of this match alone. I mean, it's definitely good enough to make you overlook the poor parts of the match, which in particular the finishing stretch, which I thought did not do enough to separate itself from the indie norm, as I might call it. But there's definitely no doubt about it. You'll come away from this match a much bigger fan of Akira Tozawa than you were before. And Hero deserves credit for his role as well, but this was Tozawa's match without a doubt. It's a damn good match. It's one of the 2 PWG placements on this list. The second one being, and this is going to freak some of you out most likely, because this is going to be actually my favourite match from the US Indies in 2010. I'm sure I'll be the only one who'll be saying this, but here we go. That would be Davey Richards versus Kenny Omega from PWG As the Worm Turns in February, which comes in at number 7 overall, I believe. As a primarily indie fan from the start of the year, I remember loving this, and as a mainly pro-wrest fan towards the end of the year, I still loved it a lot upon rewatching, and that's not something I can say for a lot of the other indie stuff that I rewatched, I can tell you that much. I really can't quite put my finger on why I like this so much, because it doesn't really represent a narrative superior to the indie norm, using that phrase again. But this happens to, I think it's part of it might be due to the fact that they didn't try to do anything that they weren't likely to be good at, I guess. I mean, they didn't try to work on a limb, I don't remember that. They didn't try to, neither one of them tried to play the sympathetic babyface. This basically highlighted all the good stuff about these 2 guys, and disguised the negatives. And that's smart work. So there you have it, my favourite indie match this year. The second PWG mention on the list, number 7, Davey Richards versus Kenny Omega. I now want to finish off by highlighting 2 Japanese matches in particular on the list. The first one is a fairly recent addition. It happened in DDT in April of 2010, and it is Daisuke Sekimoto versus Masa Takanashi. Comes in at number 11 on the list, and if you want to know why I like that match so much, then I direct you once again to the link in the description box to Daniel Talks Pro Wrest, the Facebook discussion page, where I was curious to know why it was absent on his 2010 list of recommended matches, and to that end I wrote a detailed piece about the match itself, why I liked it and such and such. If you would like to comment, I'm sure he would be quite happy to hear from more of you, so go right ahead. Which brings me to the last mention overall, which is number 5 on the list. I've been waiting to talk about this one for quite a while. It's from All Japan Pro Wrestling. The Triple Crown Championship is on the line. Suwama defends against Masakatsu Funaki. I'll say this much: if you can't imagine a match where there can be great ground game and great exchanges of strikes, and where both of those elements just blend together perfectly, then you need to watch this match. It's just awesome. Funaki is perhaps more renowned as a MMA guy, and that shows all too clearly in this match. He can take the big guy down, and I don't think Suwama takes too kindly to it. He comes back with some crushing power moves, but Funaki comes off as someone who would just be so dangerous if he were not contained for every second of the match. It's an absolutely fantastic match, and comes in number 5 on the list. So that's it overall. All feedback is appreciated. If you would like me to address a specific match on the list, then by all means tell me so. YouTube comments will probably be prohibitive in responding properly, but I'll probably make use of the Facebook page once again if that is the case. I urge you to check out that Facebook page once again. That's all for me. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.